This episode of Nuff Said is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Recording has started. Hello, dear listeners, and welcome once again to Superconnectivity. I am your host, Charlie, the Professor Essa, not an aerospace engineer. And joining me, as always, is the blue-eyed bomber from the Burg of Pits.
Phil me and Perich.
Welcome, young Philip. So glad to have you once again as we talk all things comic book and pop culture related. And, excuse me, so which to start with? Let's see, we've got Heroes Reborn. We've got, Georges St. Pierre wanting to do more acting. We've got, comic books galore. And then there was another show that just dropped this week. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk Heroes Reborn, Philip.
Okay.
So, here's a crazed fan theory, where I think Marvel is once again going to just sort of lap DC in a DC idea. And to be fair, so, okay, let's set a framework. A framework. Ooh. There's a thing there. So, the new Heroes Reborn story apparently somehow ties to the Phoenix Force, maybe Mephisto, maybe something else. Maybe Franklin Richards gets his power back in this story. We don't know exactly. All we know is that we're getting a House of M-style big event where everybody forgets everything, and now this other superheroes are in charge.
Well, I think the Phoenix Force. I thought they confirmed. I'm not sure that the Phoenix is going to rewrite reality because maybe the Avengers aren't playing ball because it's like a world without the Avengers. So,
oh my gosh! What if the Phoenix Force chooses Franklin as its host?
I don't know because I don't know where this came from, but I saw someone saying this week that I guess that over at in the X books, what's his face had plans for Franklin, but then Dan Slott depowered him and said he's not a mutant. So it's like the Slott and no one else playing with Franklin. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, who's writing our Phoenix Force story?
Here, let me look it up. Yeah, the main.
Okay.
Try to find this. I don't know if this is, like I'm saying, I don't know if this is going to be like a spin-off of
Well, who's writing Heroes Reborn?
That's what I'm looking up.
Yeah. That's okay, Phil. I guess I don't need to call you Phil me and Perich anymore.
Jason Aaron, who's writing Avengers, is writing Heroes Reborn, yeah.
Well, anyway, it's entirely possible that maybe he talked to Slott, and Slott said, yeah, I like that idea. You know, I mean, that's the thing. The depowering of Franklin is an interesting story. Bringing in the Heroes Reborn aspect is interesting, and the idea that maybe that within the whole concept of Franklin as an Omega-level mutant it's a real difficult, unstable thing to deal with. You know, and they have worked with it in several ways. You have the MC2 where he became, I forget what his power set was in that, but he eventually becomes the Blazing Skull kind of character, and that's a whole thing. So I can see the idea of Franklin Richards factoring into it, but the idea of the Squadron Supreme becoming the superhero team of this Earth, and that there is this rewriting that makes people forget things. You know, it makes me wonder what's going on. And I like that. I like where there's a mystery for me to solve. I don't like it where it's like, oh, look, here is this story again, and here's these characters again. And you can have that character show up, but, you know, have there be a real drama behind it.
I wonder even if it's like, I wonder if Phoenix comes to some conclusion where it's like, oh, all I do is destroy. What if I created something and it like creates this new universe or whatever?
Well, here's what's interesting about that is that the what do you call it? The Squadron Supreme we have, I believe, are actually super advanced LMDs. Is the idea that they aren't like they aren't really the Squadron Supreme people from the alternate universe? That they are LMDs? That they are somehow created in this form, which might be a callback to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Darkhold creating the LMDs and thus the Squadron Supreme. I mean, I'm wondering what they're doing with this. And that's the thing, because again, like their Nighthawk is not the Nighthawk that David F. Walker wrote.
Yeah.
This is actually much more closer to the original Kyle Richmond Batman Nighthawk, but they did make this an African-American Nighthawk. So which is actually from I forget which Squadron Supreme story that was, but here's my thing. They had me at Squadron Supreme with Heroes Reborn. Because this idea of re-examining these characters as pastiches long before, well, not long before, but a few months before Alan Moore did it, is pretty cool. And the fact that the Squadron Supreme exists as a entity that can be both heroes and maybe not exactly heroes is an interesting concept. So, like, long before, Garth Ennis started hating on superheroes, other people were aware of the problems. But, I'm just enthralled by this idea, and I want to see how it plays out. And one of the things I kind of found interesting was this idea of Peter Parker being the Jimmy Olsen in this universe. And more to the point, this idea of what does it mean for Peter Parker to be the Jimmy Olsen in this universe? And what if Peter Parker's parents never died? Peter Parker's parents are S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, I think is the current canonical idea, or they were some kind of spies.
Yes.
And the idea that there is this superpowered being, we need to ingratiate a person to this being to keep them under control, because the only thing that can control an omnipotent hero is its emotional state and its heart. So what if we build a relationship for it with a young, excited kid trying to make his way in New York City as a photograph taker for the Daily whatever, the Daily Bugle. I'm sure it's still the Daily Bugle.
Probably.
But yeah, the idea of Peter Parker being a CIA plant, which of course is this. So for those who don't know, I have long held that it's a very weird thing that Bucky Barnes, Jack Monroe, and Rick Jones all look exactly alike. Like, people with photographic memory look at them and say, "Oh, Bucky," and when you get into like the revamped definitions of who Bucky was, it suddenly becomes this idea: is like, gee, what if you had a superpowered being and gave them a sidekick that they felt obliged to, and could you steer a superpowered being by manipulating and controlling a sidekick as an asset? And so, if you remember, I believe it was in Batman v Superman, was it? Mm-hmm. That we get that apparently... Was Jimmy Olsen in Man of Steel?
No.
Okay, so it was a completely wasted character and a completely wasted cameo.
Yeah, no, that's what everyone complained about. It's like, yeah, you brought in Jimmy Olsen for 5 minutes to get killed, yeah. Yeah,
but the idea that, okay, what if you actually did say, you know what? Clark Kent's Superman. He's playing it, this reporter thing. What if we sent him a Nafe to protect? Someone that's going to figure out his secret, but say, "Don't worry, old chum. I'll keep your secret because I'm a loyal young lad." And suddenly, well, okay, loyal young lad, you keep my secret, and you'll be my partner. You'll be my best pal, Peter Parker. You'll be my best pal, Jimmy Olsen. And then it's like, well, actually, there's some deep state, crazy manipulation. That's an interesting story. They didn't do that in Batman v Superman. They could have, but they didn't. They could have done it in Man of Steel, too, because I think he was a reporter in that. So you could have introduced this idea that there's a Superman, and then all of a sudden, "Hi, I'm Jimmy Olsen. I'm here to take your pictures." You could have done these ideas and explored them, but they didn't. And maybe Marvel will be doing that. Maybe Marvel's going to be saying that, Peter Parker with his super spy parents, living in Queens, has this established storyline. Maybe Mephisto kills Uncle Ben. Just to give him that dark backstory. Say, "Oh, well, my uncle got killed by a robber the other day, and I just gotta protect my aunt, because she's all enfeebled, so I figured if I took the pictures of you super guys, I could make money for my aunt." So, "Well, why don't you take pictures of me, little boy?" And, that sounded weird. But, there's your drop, Phil. And that's where it goes to next. And that could be a brilliant story. I hope they explore it. I hope they explore that as an idea. I don't want to say mark my words. I don't want, that's the thing is I never want this stuff to get out because I want to see it and be right later. I want to be like the psychic who says, "Go back to what I said 4 years ago. I said that." They go, "Oh, he did! The timestamp is correct!"
Oh, it's only a one-shot.
Oh, the one-shot? Well...
Yeah, it's not even a mini-series, it's a one-shot.
But you see, Peter Parker could be throughout it, but the one-shot could be where they do the reveal. So you just always say, "Hey, Mr. Hyperion, let me get you a picture." "Gee," I forget his character's name, but "Gee, Mr. Double syllable first and last name."
Mark Milton, I think is one.
Yeah. "Gee, Mr. Milton, you and that lady reporter should have a crazy time together, huh? And let me just go along on this excursion that you two crazy reporters are going on."
Oh, yes, because Heroes Reborn, The Amazing Shutterbug, written by Mark Bernardin, who podcasts with Kevin Smith, so this is being written by a podcaster, so...
Well, there you go. We should ask him. We should see if he wants to talk about this after it comes out.
I asked him, but he's already on Kevin Smith podcast. Where he's going to talk about it. But yeah, we'll feature Peter Parker following his favorite hero, Hyperion. Instead of being a wall crawler, he's just a reporter at the Daily Bugle. However, he will get a chance to meet with his idol. But the preview suggests that something will go wrong as he tries to get a snapshot during the heart of the action.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Maybe they're just going to drop a building on him, which happens, I'm just saying, as a story concept, the idea of ingratiating a sidekick to a hero is a brilliant move that any smart, evil corporation or government should do. So, writers of the world, I give you this gift. Make Jimmy Olsen a deep state mole. Because honestly, if you think about it, if you think about stuff like The Boys, where they make the point that the only thing that when these characters have a connection, that thing means so much to them. Why wouldn't you manufacture those connections for them? Mm-hmm. Not for nothing. I mean, that is the entire plotline of the Black Widow. Is she was a honeypot. And you can make all kinds of honeypots out there, kids. And you just have to observe and note and watch and build your little Truman Show around your superhero. So that superhero has their little best pal. And the best pal can direct them. And to be fair, I'm going to say this. I bet you the best pal is better than the honeypot. Because the honeypot always seems like they might be after something.
Too good to be true.
Exactly, but the best pal, why? I just want to take pictures of you, Mr. Milton. I just want to help you out and get the story of your greatness to everybody. I'm telling you, Philip, that's a plot line.
I could see that.
Someone should pursue. I don't know if they're going to pursue it here.
Yeah, like I said, it's only a one-shot, so I don't know.
Okay. Another item quick here is George. Is it Pierre St. George or is it George St. Pierre? The guy who plays Batroc in the MCU is saying he really wants to work more as an actor, and that's great. I hope he can act. I think he can. He actually had a nice dialogue with Chris Evans. It's a back and forth, and it's believable. You know? He doesn't say a lot, but you believe it, and he then does all the things that Batroc should do. Now, he's not saying I want to play Batroc a lot, but I would love to see more Batroc in the MCU.
Yeah.
I think he's actually in Falcon Winter Soldier, isn't he? Is that confirmed?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I heard that. I mean,
I've heard that, but it might not be true. So,
I mean, eventually it might show up. I mean, we're getting Zemo. Aren't they hitting around at Thunderbolts eventually?
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Batroc is a henchman of Zemo. Here's my thing. I get the feeling him saying that now, I gotta feel is an approved leak. Because, as we've said, Disney has a secret algorithm that it is used, that it has discovered that can predict the future. And so it has this very controlled, tight rules about who says what when, what gets released where. I will guarantee you they knew about COVID like 6 months before and man, that's going to screw up our release schedule. It's like, well, it's an 89% certainty. Maybe we can release in December. Maybe we can release in... Okay. Well, let's restructure all of our stories so that it all fits into the algorithm. That's the thing. I will guarantee you that's just the reality.
Well, they probably acted on it before the government did. That's,
Yeah, well, because Disney is Disney is looking outward. That's their thing,
Yeah, I'm sure they have people overseas who are like, hey, it's getting pretty bad over here.
Mm-hmm. That's a reality, too, although, sadly, most overseas places handled it better than us. So anyway, what was I? So I would love to see more of Batroc as a character. I felt that the actor did a great job with the character, and I think that would make a really interesting character to have in it, especially if he has his kind of, villainous redemptive arc where he says, I am a mercenary. I am not here because I have any great love for your cause, Mr. Zemo. I am here because you are paying me. And that's the idea. That is one of the things I've loved about, especially modern interpretations of Batroc, which is like, the idea that you have hired me because you need someone to slow down a superhero. If there was someone who could stop a superhero, you would have hired them. That person does not exist because clearly it would have been me or it would have been someone else who stopped the superhero. You just need someone to slow them down exactly this amount. That is what you paid me to do. I'm aware of the universe I live in. I'm aware of my power sets. I'm the best at what I do. And what I do is just enough.
And if they do bring him back, I hope they play him more like in the comics, like what we're getting in Thunderbolts right now,
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but I think that'd be great because he is. Here's the thing: every iteration of Thunderbolts of late, every iteration of Batroc of late, has been this very worldly, very capable old soldier, who doesn't like to be disrespected, but is also, human and more than happy to care for someone, kind of like Conan, as we were talking about in the Savage Avengers. He's not there to pass judgment on anyone. He's just there for the money. I don't care what you do when you get home. I just don't want the money to get messed up.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to get a third. You can split your third with your other guy. That's fine. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's lovely. It's beautiful, and I want to see what he does with that. I think that's going to be pretty interesting because I think that, like Dave Bautista, which is what he was saying, was like, that was kind of my inspiration. I see what Dave Bautista could do. and I see all the work he's getting, and Dave Bautista is, quite frankly, a very popular entertainer at this moment.
Well,
so
yeah, I mean, they see Dave Bautista, and then The Rock's going to be Black Adam. It's like, oh, hey.
The Rock got his own NBC series. Have you seen Young Rock?
I've seen some of the commercials, yeah.
It's an enjoyable show to watch. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of content in it, and The Rock is very charismatic. This is sort of him learning to become The Rock, as they say. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. And in 2032, if he's running, I may vote for the guy. I don't know his policies yet, so I'm not going to say I'm going to vote for The Rock just because he's The Rock. But I want to hear what his policies are. He's intrigued me enough to listen to him. But if his policies are Vishtankin, then I'm just going to say, your policies are Vishtankin, The Rock. Still love you in Jumanji. That's what you should do. Okay, moving right along. We talked a lot about WandaVision on the last show, but as we know, I can do 4 hours on the WandaVision thing. So I'm trying to think what we haven't talked about yet. I
mean, we always have comics, but
yeah. We can go straight to comics if you want. I mean, we don't want to be here too long, after all. Maybe people have jobs to get to. Let's see here. What else? Let's talk Captain America.
Okay.
So we're going to do our comics now, and this is a very slow burning kind of comic, but also an interesting take on the false flag narrative. Because the idea is that, Red Skull, Luke, and what's interesting about this is that Red Skull and Lucan, it's not clear who we're talking to in this. It's almost.
Do you think maybe both they're kind of bleeding in the one person? So we're kind of like influencing the Red Skull, so he's not going to be the same Nazi known and hated for the past how many years?
Although it's weird to see people actively embracing Red Skull iconography and then him showing up as the Red Skull. Mm-hmm. That's what's weirdest about that. It's although what's weird about it is it is what comic books do, which is taking reality and just slightly heightening it to the point that, and that's one of the interesting things in there. You have the anti-mutant group listed in the anti-Cap riot, but of course in the Humans First, you have all kinds of people, but then you get these people that don't like other people. And it's and the first thing you see is the Humans First person getting punched by somebody else. Essentially showing, as Lucan / Red Skull is saying here, that, my problem in the past was I saw hate as an end goal. And I realized now hate is just a tool. And, it goes to show Mr. Coates' understanding of the character and the concept and what they're building here, in the idea that it is that the iconography of these comic book villains may be embraced, but the real threat isn't the person putting on the Red Skull mask, although he does have Lucan put on the Red Skull mask several times. That putting on the Red Skull mask and then taking off the Red Skull mask, that's the real threat. And for what it's worth, this goes back to the original 1940s Red Skull, when the first Red Skull we encounter is actually a U.S. industrialist who was just wearing the Red Skull mask, and then it's revealed after he's killed, but then it's oh no, he was just using the iconography of the Red Skull to lead people. But that, of course, is the whole point. And that, of course, is this ancient idea, going all the way, well, I don't want to say ancient, but going all the way to the Ku Klux Klan, how it's the iconography that is what motivates people more than any individual. And when a symbol becomes more powerful than it is more dangerous, even if the person who created the symbol is no longer there, which, of course, leads us to entire question about Captain America as the symbol, who may, in fact, be this counterweighting narrative to the Red Skull in this, and that it is going to be the power and the rising of the American dream. If we're going to have a true comic book narrative where it is like, you're going to get the kids wearing the Cap masks, or, as I always said, I always thought it would be a cool idea to sell riot shields that look like Captain America shields for people that were marching in protests, because you know what? That's not your symbol. We see the people in the crowd in this with the nuke face paint,
Mm-hmm.
and all these iconographies that are disparate when you think about them. You can't wave the Confederate flag and the American flag at the same time. That should immediately say our iconography is wrong, except for the fact that someone wants to say something different about the narrative than what should be obvious. So, as always say, this Ta-Nehisi Coates kid, I think he's got a future. I think as a writer, he's going to go places. So, it's a name to watch out for. I wish he'd talk more about his work with Marvel Comics, because I think he's doing such great work. And I really think he has captured Captain America in such a deep and powerful way. And to be honest, as an African American writer writing about white people being the whitest people they can be, he gets the voices perfect. Which really shows how great of a writer he is, because writing voices is the hardest thing. But then again, I'm sure he's a guy who is very familiar with how to talk that way as well. So it's brilliant on every level, and I love his Captain America.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Is there a book you want to talk?
Do you want to do Iron Man?
Oh, let's do Iron Man. Man, I don't know. It's weirdly.
I know, it's like Korvac. It's like, wow.
Well, here's the thing with it, is it just, and the whole thing about Korvac going to attack Ta, too. And there's a part of you that's like, is this just a bunch of, like, ants fighting before the elephant stamps on them? It's like, is the person who gets the tattoo the winner, or is it the person who, and I get who Korvac is. I get what he's supposed to be. But I get his followers. Honestly, here's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the whole thing with people in Patty's mind, and maybe Damien Hellstrom shows up and just says, Patty, we're always false messiahs. It's like, you know what? You're right, Damien. Thanks for reminding me. But I think she's already there herself, so I don't think we need Damien to show up to solve that problem. But, but man, Tony being like, okay, we need to fuse my armor because I have a broken neck. And at a certain point, the hubris gets a bit too big with this. Just the idea of, although I like the idea that he's going to say, you know what, I'm tired of apologizing for what I am and who I am. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That aspect of it is, okay, that's cool. That he's going to actually stand up and say, you know what, I don't care if I'm technically a robot. It really doesn't bother me because right now there's too much at stake. That, in fact, my existential crisis and worry is so petty and mundane, since I'm a person that routinely travels the spaceways and does things like that, that I'm sitting here going, oh, but am I a real boy?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? You're real enough for real. Like when you were in the framework, were you real? I don't know. Did you think you were real? Did you have a real effect on things, or did you not? Mm-hmm. And if you're having a real effect on things, maybe that should be enough. maybe you shouldn't have to have definitive proof of your own reality. Maybe you should certainly question reality from time to time, as they did on the recent episode of Young Sheldon. But the fact of the matter is, at a certain point, someone's going to come into your room with a chicken, and you're going to say, is the chicken real or not? And as Wallace Shawn tells him, once I saw that jaguar, this is all references to the last episode of Young Sheldon. It's a good episode. It's a good series. You should watch it. It says, after he licked the hallucinogenic frog, and he saw a jaguar, he said, you know what? I don't know if that's a real jaguar or my imagination, but I should leave now. And that's the idea. It's like at a certain point, you just have to say, maybe nothing matters, maybe nothing is real, but right now, there is an instinct that needs to kick in that says, I need to protect the world or myself, and I shouldn't be wallowing in my own existential anxiety. So it's a nice arc for Tony in this.
Oh, yeah.
At least that's my take on it.
Oh, yeah. Again, I don't know where it's going, but it's I'm just like, Korvac, really? When I heard of the pitch at first, I'm like, I don't know. Just like Tony by himself thought the whole Avengers team against Korvac, but it's working. To
be fair, Korvac's a fine character. Mm-hmm. No one's complaining about the existence of Korvac.
Yeah.
I'm glad he has legs now. That's an upgrade. I always thought it was weird when he was like grafted to the living computer. And that's always that weird idea. Is like, why would you graft someone to a living computer? It just doesn't seem like the best idea. Who knows? Maybe Korvac's the real threat in WandaVision. I want to get to Immortal Hulk Flatline, although that is, again, a nice filler piece, though it did feel like it had deeper meaning. Because we actually get to this whole idea of this apparently maybe taking place like early on in the Immortal Hulk idea, and this is where the Hulk first understands about going to the place of the dead and going to the Upside Down or what have you. And this old, I do wonder what exactly the physics teacher's power set was. Because on one hand, she's like, oh yeah, I'm, Super Saiyan mode. But maybe it's also it's all just illusion, that the whole thing was just an illusion. But we don't really get the imagery of that. We don't really see that. And she does apparently move a whole bunch of tankers to kill the Hulk. So I'm guessing that she had those powers as she was lying in the hospital bed. Big reveal.
It just seemed like almost gamma telekinesis or something, or I don't know.
Well, they wanted the Super Saiyan to beat up the Hulk, basically, is what it was. And it worked, I guess. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked the back and forth. It's a little weird, this idea of, Banner's teacher, seeking him out. And then again, like I said, that obviously is there in an actual form.
Yeah.
Because when we get to the end, she's in her hospital bed, and then she dies, and then it's like a freaking Doctor Who regeneration scene with like just the light shooting out of her. But it does seem like this is where, like I said, you usually don't think of these one-shots as being canonical, but you kind of get this strong idea that that there is stuff being laid here that seems to be revelatory. Mm-hmm. For the deeper Immortal Hulk run. And I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, this one wasn't like current with what's going on in the main book right now, but I think it's canonical. I'd say most of these one-shots they've been doing for Immortal Hulk are probably canonical.
Well, canonical in the sense that they could happen is fine, but I kind of feel like this one gives us a depth of character that informs the Immortal Hulk series. Yeah. That I don't think like the previous one with the girl and the daisies. And
no.
I don't feel like that is at the same level of how much I feel like this could and maybe does tie into the overall Immortal Hulk arc.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would not be surprised to see this book referenced in a future episode of Immortal Hulk, especially currently, because there is the whole thing of, like, what are you without Banner?
Yeah.
And now we have, the Hulk without Banner. So stuff like that makes you go, huh. And it seems like it is much more interesting. So I like it. I really enjoyed it. And I'm very happy I read it. It seemed like a good book. And, that's that.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, because it's like some of them, it's like they were fine enough, but it's like they were like a 5-minute read, and it's like, okay, on to the next thing. But yeah, this one seems like it had, like you said, it could show, themes that could show up again.
Exactly. Any other books you want to talk about?
No, that's ones they had on the top when you talk.
Yeah. So, I don't want to dismiss all of WandaVision, because I know we talked a lot about it on the last show, but I'm just trying to think, what have I not already talked about that isn't going to be just only exciting for me? And
we didn't mention like the Vision starting to put stuff together, and
yeah, well, that's right, Darcy. So
yes.
Darcy is interesting in this, because that was a whole conversation me and Maz has, is what is Darcy going to be in this next world? And this is what I think is one of the most interesting aspects of this. When she envelops the sword agents, it becomes this big circus on the outskirts of town. And, okay, I just want to say, I'm really mad they didn't play on with the whole Hulk clown strongman robot bit in this. I figured that they were maybe thinking, we could do that whole bit, and da-da-da-da, and there was like, dude, we do have a time limit. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a lot for a sight gag. But that, that he is a clown and he is a robot, I kind of feel like, yeah, I wanted to see Vision juggling elephants, but we didn't get that. Instead, we see when Darcy comes into frame, we see her chained up in front of a car, because of course she was handcuffed to a car at the start of this. But then we see her just slough off the cuffs because she's an escape artist in this.
Mm-hmm.
A telling character for her to be cast as someone who is more knowledgeable about the world they're in, and then maybe more skilled to escape. Though we see her playing her part until Vision awakens her. And again, because of how she came into this, she is much less traumatized as other people. Obviously, she's been being manipulated for less long and the like, but she...
and she had knowledge of it before she went into it.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like she comes out of it in a very nice place, and they decide to go on their adventure. And then we keep on getting these editorial cuts, which again goes into this idea of, as we say at the end, it was Agnes all along. Agnes all along is the name of the show, but that doesn't mean she's a malevolent force. And I think that's what people miss in that. That it was Agnes all along doesn't mean she's malevolent, and in fact might mean the exact opposite. That she is there because something has happened that has caused this event. And for all we know, she was sent by Doctor Strange. She was sent by, the other houses. Although it's interesting, one of the most interesting aspects of this is the fact that Agnes's, and this is something Tristan pointed out, Agnes's magic is purple.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first purple magic we have seen, which is neat because it suggests there's something very different about her magic. Because prior to this, most of Doctor Strange magic is either yellow or green, and occasionally red. All of Wanda's magic is always red.
Oh yeah.
And this purple, it's a color we haven't seen being used for magic. Now, purple, I believe, is the Power Stone. which also maybe suggests it's just super powerful magic. But one of the things I really feel is most interesting about this is when she takes the kids, and Billy again points out that, he likes it in her house because it's quiet. And then he looks at Agnes and says, "You're quiet." Mm-hmm. And I think there's an aspect of it that, as I say, I definitely feel that Billy created the dog. So I think that the killing of the dog by Agnes is less important than we think it is. But the idea that Billy is a sentient being outside of Agnes's control is frightening to Agnes. Mm. And I also don't think she did anything to the kids. What did she do with the kids? It's like, I think the kids went out to play. Because they ate their peanut butter sandwiches, didn't eat the crust, because, obviously there are these kids who don't eat crusts, which means that their parents spoil them, which is probably what Wanda did. And they left the show that was clearly not age appropriate for them, because that was, what's this? That was a show, the show when you see it, and it was, but it was a very cute kid show, but it was not an age appropriate kid show for tweens. So they probably got up and left and went outside or went somewhere else. But Agnes sends Wanda to the basement because I think the whole idea is she needs to get Wanda into the basement because that is maybe like the place that is the Nexus or is a representation of the Nexus here in New Jersey that she can protect her in. And that is because, again, like I said, I really feel there is this idea that what we think of as someone rewriting things and doing these things, it's all about protection. It's all about trying to hold things together and keep things operational as they move forward to where they're going.
And we pretty much got confirmation that Hayward wanted to use the Vision as a weapon.
Oh, yes. And okay, my bad. Yes, the cataract is, cataracts, blur your vision, so we're going to call the Vision thing Operation Cataract so that people won't think it's about Vision. Except, obviously, that's exactly what you would think it was about if the character's name was Vision. So my bad. I thought too deeply of it, and obviously the code creators did not think as deeply as they did. But yeah, and that's what he was trying to weaponize Vision. He was trying to make a sentient weapon.
So I my thought was, when Darcy's telling Vision everything, his whole entire history, how he started out as Jarvis and, and his body's from Ultron and stuff. And are we doing like a complete wipe and we're going to make like Vision like his own thing now where it's like, he doesn't remember being Jarvis or anything. He's now like he's still Vision, but he's like a brand new character like they did in the comics after they dismantled him.
Well, essentially, and me and Miles talked about this the other night, talking about the previous episode, which is I think that, basically, Vision has been rebooted. He's been reset to factory defaults. And the idea is that, so he's lost all of his memory, but his OS is still there. His operating system is still there. And his operating system is still largely Jarvis. And that is what Banner said about it in Infinity War. He's like, look, yeah, the Mind Stone's a part of Vision, but the fact of the matter is, there's a lot that goes into Vision. There's Stark, there's Jarvis, there's me, there's Ultron. All these things influence him beyond the Mind Stone.
Yeah, I always thought the stone just enhanced what was there already.
Well, I think it was just more, I think it was like the actual solar stone in his forehead, just the power source. Although obviously the Mind Stone clearly had a sense of self and a sense of AI, and that sense of self was Ultron. So, sees where that goes. But I do think that the idea that the Vision, but that's the part that I think is the thing, because it is still the same OS that is Jarvis, as Darcy says, that love you had with Wanda was real. And I think this is what we're moving towards in the next two episodes, which is Vision is going to reconnect with Wanda. obviously next episode, because even though he's being delayed by Agnes, clearly, because they keep on cutting to him doing an interview, and he says, "Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I talking to you?" Meaning he can see who he's talking to. And then he goes back to that timeline and then phases out and flies, and Darcy says, "Well, I'll follow you." It's interesting because it almost, and this is my take on this, I think if we're going to say it was Agnes all along, it's not that it was Agnes all along trying to control the situation, per se, or to manipulate it for nefarious purposes. I think it was Agnes all along trying to space it out so she could help Wanda help heal this town. And I think that's what we're getting here. And it was delaying Vision long enough to get to the town, or to get to, so that at that point when he does break free, it's already that Wanda's already in the basement. Mm-hmm. And now and that's the thing. That's my thing. It was Agnes all along bit at the end. It is so on the nose. I cannot believe that is what it was meant to be. It was so mocking of the fans. And that's the thing. It's like when you lovingly mock someone, you appreciate it. You know the difference between being roasted and being made fun of. I think DC makes fun of their fans. I think Marvel roasts their fans. And, but maybe that's just because that's what I want to see. But either way, that's what this is all about. Just see what you want to see.
Did you see the mid-credit scene? We finally had a mid-credit scene.
Oh, of course. Creeper's going to creep.
Yep.
Which is, and again, this shows an interesting aspect because it is Pietro as an autonomous being coming to Monica. Mm-hmm. Now, it's interesting when we get to Monica's power set origin in here, where she comes out and she sees the electromagnetic spectrum, and yes, that is very much what her power set gives her the ability to do, and that was one of her clues that something had changed in the original Spider-Man annual, which is fair, to someone that I was yelling at about on Facebook earlier, because he said, "It's exactly like her original origin." It's like, no, it's not. It's like, yes, it has, because she got exposed to energies while she was trying to stop a villain. It's like, yes, so was Speedball. That's not exactly a unique origin. And the motivations of everyone in the situation are also a lot different, but trying to explain storytelling to someone. But as a visual cue, that is what she first sees. Is she starts, when she first gets her power, she can see the electromagnetic spectrum in all of its different ways. And that's an interesting callback they do there. Although then she, immediately goes about her business, and we kind of get the idea that now she has powers too. Electric Boogaloo. And when Monica and Pietro meet, I think that's it's an interesting thing because I don't think Pietro's a villain either. That's the thing. Everyone, and this is the thing, is Ms. Olsen told us, I kind of feel like there's not a villain here. It's everyone trying to do their own thing, which is her way of saying that really Hayward's not the villain. He's just so afraid. But honestly, I do think the guy is AIM, so I'm going to think he's at least a little villainous because he threw in with an evil side of people. And I do think that he dropped some kind of bomb on Wanda. And I do think that the Fantastic Four is going to be a part of this eventually, because I do think that the fact that they're referencing too many things to have it just be making fun of Marvel fans looking for Easter eggs. I gotta feel like there is going to be a payoff to it, but maybe that is me being a Marvel fan looking for too many Easter eggs.
Well, so supposedly, some of the actors are saying, "Yeah, there's a big, someone's showing up," and we're not talking about Quicksilver. There's
something going to happen.
Something big's coming,
and maybe it could be Mephisto. It could be Nightmare. It could be Mephisto. I think those are all too way on the nose. it could be, as people have pointed out, maybe it's Mojo.
Yeah.
That we're going to get a big Jabba the Hutt looking Mojo at the end, preferably played brilliantly by John Leguizamo. Because of his clown performance, I always think about him as Mojo. And he would be great as Mojo.
Or we could have one of our two Magnetos show up.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think that's as interesting because that person didn't have magnetic powers. And if it's just someone that she doesn't recognize, like, oh, well, I'm the guy that stooped your mom. Your dad didn't know, but you're actually my kid. I think that's too awkward of a conversation to have. Maybe we can get there eventually, but I think Wanda and Vision as Magneto's kids is something we're not going to deal with in the Marvel Universe. Yeah. Since I don't even think there are Magneto's kids in the current Marvel Universe.
Yeah, did they kind of confirm in this episode that is the Fox Universe Quicksilver? Because when the kids are like, Uncle Pietro, she's like, that's not your uncle.
Well, and again, but we do see that it is Agnes bringing this Pietro in. So why did she pull that form for him? And it's one of these things where,
is it just could it be as simple as she can't raise the dead, but she can pull somebody out of the multiverse?
Well, that's the thing. I think she did raise the dead, but she couldn't resurrect a body. And that's something different. It's like, I can pull a ghost in here, sure. Pulling ghosts in is easy, but giving a ghost a corporal form, that's a little more troublesome.
And there we go. We combine our Quicksilvers, so we take the two and we make one character.
Exactly. We take the one that people liked and we keep his backstory, but we're going to make him the wacky uncle. And that, and maybe it is, maybe she's piggybacking on some of the stuff that Wanda's able to do in this more malleable reality because we are at the nexus of realities. So, here's the thing. You know who the secret character they're not mentioning is?
Who?
You know the secret character who's going to really blow the lid off of all of this?
Who?
Who is at the nexus of realities?
The Man-Thing.
No.
Howard.
He's going to lay some quack foo on some people by the end of this episode. Mark my words. But that's probably wrong. Yeah, not for nothing, they did bring Howard into the final battle of Infinity War. And I could see someone just saying, you know what the heck? Let's just have Howard the Duck show up and just quack foo everybody. And, have Kristen Ritter show up because they have the rights to Kristen Ritter now. The Punisher and Kristen Ritter are now officially in the possession of Marvel. So the last characters that anyone cared about are there. And so it'll be interesting to see where it goes next. Okay, Philip. That's a lot to talk about this week. Do you have anything else you want to hit on before we go?
No, I think that's it. But we only got 2 more WandaVision episodes left, I believe.
Yeah, and I have to think, if everyone's saying about how long the episodes are supposed to be, we were supposed to get 3 one-hour episodes, but this was only really a 36-minute episode, or really a 30-minute episode. It opens up the reality that, that means that we've got 2.5 hours to spend between the next 2 episodes. So
I was going to say, how funny would that be if every episode was 30-some minutes, and then the last episode's 2 hours or something?
Well, that is not unheard of.
I wouldn't care. That'd be awesome.
No, exactly. I can see the next one being another 30 minutes, and the last one is 2 hours, and that's fine by me.
Oh, yeah.
It's now we're going to do just the big epic conclusion.
We're going to answer everything.
Well, we're going to make it sit through a movie, because, you wanted to do that from the start, but we wanted it to be 10 hours long. We knew that was stupid, but we realized we could break it up into these different little bite-sized bites, something that apparently people like Zack Snyder cannot conceive of. And, it's we would have let you told a 10-hour movie, but you didn't want to do that, so now you're going to make a 4-hour movie which means you're still cutting stuff out of it. But we didn't come here to hate on Zack Snyder. We'll wait for the actual thing to drop whenever it eventually drops, and then we'll hate on Zack Snyder. But anyway, yeah, that's going to be interesting. But Philip, it's a sad thing. People are listening to this podcast right now, and they're listening to it on substandard headphones.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I know. They went to the dollar store. They said, it's $1. I'm going to pay $1 for a pair of headphones, and that's going to be enough. And, the fact of the matter is, when they got that thing out of the store, they realized almost immediately, okay, one headphone works, the other one doesn't quite work, but you know what? I hear what they're saying. I can work with this, they said. And you know what, Phil? People don't need to live like that.
No.
Because even if they are cheap, even if they are dollar store headphone people, let me tell you that you can go to tweakedaudio.com. You can buy high-quality headsets at a fraction of retail costs and use the coupon code Southgate at checkout to get an actual high-quality headphone that will last.
Yes.
And not have to pay full price for it. And I think that's a great deal because when you think about it, okay, so I go to the dollar store and I buy that headphone, and let's say I get a month out of it. Well, that means I spent $12 on it, right? And then I got to spend $12 more and $12 more and $12 more every year. And sometimes it doesn't even last a week. So really that week I had to buy like 4. That month I had to buy 4 because each one lasted a week. So really we're talking about $16, $17, $18, $100 a year you're spending on headphones, not just going to tweakedaudio.com. So please go to tweakedaudio.com. Use the coupon code Southgate at checkout and actually get a decent pair of headphones. Please, I beg of you. Likewise, you can use that same coupon just to show how versatile it is. Go over to hunterkiller.com, get yourself essentially an escape room delivered to your house. It's a mystery. It's a game you play that challenges your mind. Just in the way that Superconnectivity hopefully challenges your mind as you help Michelle Gray solve a cold case. It's great. It's fun. Use the coupon code Southgate at checkout, and it doesn't cost you as much as it otherwise would. And then when you're done with that, if you still need to buy things to make yourself happy, go down to our show notes, click on the Amazon link, go to Amazon, buy anything you want, and it costs you nothing. Nothing at all, and it saves this whole podcast empire. So that's a good thing. And while you're there, check out Podlife the book. It's a book written by podcasters for the general community, written by the people who make the Southgate community come alive, so you might enjoy it.
Make it rain.
And if you do anything, if you read anything, if you do anything, or you have any thoughts, if you think I am wrong, or Phil's wrong, or everyone's wrong, what's the one thing that everyone missed in WandaVision that you solely saw and no one else did, how can they tell us about that, Phil?
You can always email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And then you could just go to Linktree, linktr.ee/capesandlunatics, and all of our social media, our YouTube, it's all there.
That's a great place to be. And, of course, if you'd like to write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our mothers and fathers once did, do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And follow me on Twitter as I live tweet Batwoman, a woohoo, and DuckTales, also a woohoo, as DuckTales enters into its final season, starting Monday, February 22nd, I believe. I'm going to talk about it. You might enjoy it. If you like the DuckTales, this is your moment. Follow me at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Maz. Just realized I could end that with like ESSER. That would be for my Full Stream Ahead podcast. Anyway, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for connecting with us tonight. We're here every week, so please come back again next week. And super connect with us again. Good night.
Good night.
It's been really great stealing your identity.
It is always great to hear from him.
Whoever that random YouTuber is.
Random people, man. We live off of the love of random people. At least I do.
It was all Charlie, yes sir, all along.